volcano latest news. Artificial intelligence, as we know, satellites, for example, help track subtle warning signs of eruptions from space. This has been going on with Yellowstone quite regularly, and they found new hotspots in the area. Scientists developed an artificial intelligence AI system that can help track brewing volcanoes' eruption as seen from space. Kindly support my Patreon account because YouTube again has demonetized my channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. Geophysicists across the world use a wide variety of tools. They want to detect the most obvious signs of an imminent volcanic eruption, earthquakes, ground deformations, volcanic unrest, but installing ground tools around these active volcanoes can be expensive, and ground sensors only collect data from a limited area. That's why scientists have turned to radar satellites to track minute changes in the ground, and that would otherwise be invisible to the naked eye. But even this technology is not infallible because clouds and other weather phenomena can disrupt vital measurements. And being able to accurately track ground movements around active volcanoes is critical if the loss of life is to be prevented. That's why researchers at Pennsylvania State University have developed an artificial intelligence AI that can help clear up the satellite data. According to these scientists, the technology allows for near real-time observations of volcanic activity from space. Christine Withauer, Associate Professor of Geosciences and Institute for Data and Computational Sciences, ICDS faculty, said, "The shape of volcanoes is constantly changing, and much of that change is due to the underground magma movements in the magma plumbing system made of magma reservoirs and conduits." She says much of this movement is subtle and cannot be picked up by the naked eye. And according to Jian Sun, postdoctorate scholar, lead author of the study, there are limitations to what can be done on the ground. In places, for example, like Yellowstone, which is a supervolcano in Wyoming of the United States, there where one of the world's supervolcanoes resides, scientists use GPS stations to measure ground movement. But once these instruments are installed, they need to be maintained on site. And should an earthquake or eruption strike, odds are the instruments would be wiped out. That's a risk satellites can ignore. Dr. Sun said, so it's hard to put a lot of ground-based stations in the specific area in the first place. But let's say there actually is a volcanic explosion or even an earthquake. That would probably damage a lot of these expensive instruments. Second, those instruments will only give you ground measurements at specific locations where they're installed. So those measurements will have a very limited spatial coverage, he says. But there are also drawbacks to relying on satellite data, which were outlined in the paper and published in Journal of Geophysical Research. The particular problem, atmospheric disturbances, can affect measurements and introduce errors in the data. Dr. Sun said, we can monitor the movement of the ground caused by earthquakes or volcanoes using radar remote sensors, but while we have access to a lot of remote sensing data, the radar waves must go through the atmosphere to get recorded at the sensor. And the propagation path would likely be affected by the atmosphere, especially if the climate is tropical with a lot of water vapor and clouds, variations in time and space. So to fight this, the researchers used machine learning to teach the AI how to fill in the gaps in noisy, quote-unquote, satellite data. The researchers believe the method produces fairly accurate results, and that could spot potential warning signs of an incoming eruption or even an earthquake. Dr. Sun says it really is important for areas close to active volcanoes or near where there have been earthquakes to have as early warning as possible that something might be happening. Professor Withauer added that we wish to be able to identify earthquakes and fault movements as well as magma sources, and includes several underground sources generating surface deformation. And she says we will apply this new groundbreaking method to other active volcanoes thanks to support from NASA, the NASA satellites that is. This by Sebastian Ketley on Express UK.